I think even the word manifest means to make obvious. So we want to materialize the spiritual, what's coming from our heart, what's coming from our soul. We want to materialize it onto this realm and make it obvious and no longer a secret.
Hey, this is Justin Michael Williams, and before you get started on watching this interview that I know you're excited to watch, I want to tell you that this interview series is a part of a special event that our community does that is totally free every year called Manifest New Year's Eve. Now, whether you're watching this close to the new year or not, listen carefully because I want to give you this context. Every year, at the end of the year, our community puts together this incredible event that helps you set your mission, vision, and goals for the year to come. And our theme is you don't get what you want in life. You get what you are. You get what you are. So it's about who you're becoming so that you can transform. And these interviews, this interview that you're about to watch was a part of that special event. And the best part is it's free and you can watch it anytime you want. So if you go to this website, manifestnye.com, you can see the full replay of our 3-hour masterclass featuring all of these incredible special guests like Young Pueblo, Dr. Tama, Dan Siegel, Sarah King, Sienna Sherman, Vanessa In, and more. And our community coming together so that we can actually transform our lives. And you'll get a special manifest workbook that will walk you through every single step of the process. And it's totally free. It's our gift to you because what we really believe is that no matter who you love, no matter how much money is in your bank account, no matter what your identity is, and no matter what color your skin is, we all deserve to live in the full abundance that is our birthright. And so it's a great honor to be on this journey with you and to present to you this interview from Manifest New Year's Eve. May you be well. Hey everybody, this is Justin Michael Williams with Manifest New Year's Eve, and I'm so excited and so honored to share this conversation with you today. And you know, one of my promises for what I wanted to do for these New Year's conversations in particular was to bring to you the people who have made the biggest impact on my life in 2020 and way prior to that even. And two of these women here that I've had the chance to bring together right now are two of just the most magical, powerful, heart-centered, soulful, wise, incredible women that I know. And it's with great joy and honor that I introduce you to both Cristi Christensen, who is a world-renowned yoga and empowerment instructor who has an incredible book coming out called Chakra Rituals this year, and Vanessa In, who is a healer and a leader who has worked with people on the world's greatest stages, people so great that I'm not even allowed to name them, but it just came out recently that Vanessa, you know, has been a big mentor and guide to Pink, and did a great big essential conversation with Pink in which Pink said she wouldn't even be in her relationship if it wasn't for Vanessa. And so with my whole heart, like I feel so lucky to know these women personally and now to bring them to all of you in the community. So Vanessa, Cristi, thank you so much for taking the time to be with all of us today.
Absolutely.
With my whole heart, I am so honored. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Loving you both. So jumping right in, you know, Vanessa, I just have a question that I've actually been dying to ask you, and I've been purposefully waiting for this moment so that we didn't talk about it ahead of time. So we're talking about manifesting, right? And we're talking about wanting to create the life and the lives of our dreams. And a lot of people, given what's happened in the world this year, feel out of control, you know, and like, they don't know, like, what's even the point of creating a vision at this point? What's even the point of trying to manifest anything when everything, you know, has been, for so many people, turned completely upside down? What do you say to that?
Oh, wow. You know, this is a really good question. And, you know, there's always this sense of order, disorder, and then reorder. And that is throughout everything in life, including our lives, including the bigger picture and the smaller picture. And so, there's always this repeating circle of order, disorder, or chaos, and reorder, right? And so it's map making. We constantly are making a new map. And so sometimes we consciously do that. We're going, okay, I have this comfy, cozy order, and now I want to get out of my comfort zone. Okay, I feel a little bit of discomfort. And then we go, oh, now I'm feeling comfortable, right? And sometimes it's lovely like that and harmonious. And sometimes we are thrown into tumultuous waves and a sense of the river raging, and we don't know what we're doing, and we're upside down, and we're drowning, and we're gasping for air. And that is what 2020 has been. So it's been this incredible disorder that needed to happen, right? Everything needed to crumble, all the lies of our personal life, what is not a part of our story, our bigger story of our soul, and all the lies of everything, right? And so now is that through that crisis, now is the real opportunity to go, what do I really want? Not just me, my head, but my heart, my quiet heart, my bigger soul. What is really trying to come through? And so I feel super excited for everybody, and not to diminish the pain, because there's great pain in disorder, and we've been through some of the biggest disorder that I've ever witnessed, right? And so but there's a huge opportunity in this crisis.
Yeah, it's major, and I think I love this idea that you're giving us of disorder to reorder.
Yeah.
And to, when we can, those of us who can, who are still here, have the opportunity to say, what do I really want? And I think when you said that question, I saw Cristi shake her head too. Like, I felt it in my spirit,
Yeah.
like,
Well,
what
that's
do
the
you
thing, is
really
that
want?
we should, when we ask that question, what do I really want? We should feel that sense of awe, both scared, like, ooh, wow, that feels too big, right? Or something, but also like it should ring a bell of truth. And so when both of those are there, we're hitting into the sacred.
So
Vanessa, can you ask it? Can you ask us so we can hear that, listen with your voice? Like, what do you really want? Can you, because the way that you say it, something activates. So I'm
Mm,
curious if you can just let us have that resonance to feel that in
mm,
our own spirit.
yeah. What do you really want? What does your soul really want? What does your heart really want? And a part of you knows the answer. Don't worry about anything else.
I love that. A part of you knows the answer. Don't worry about anything else. It's really beautiful, Vanessa and Cristi. As Vanessa said, disorder to reorder. I think probably better than anyone, with you, the amount of disorder that happened because of COVID in your life this year, with the vision for your life of what was happening this year. And so, for context for everybody, Cristi is literally, I'm not being dramatic when I say, like, world renowned yoga teacher, like, travels all over the world, from Asia and Indonesia to Europe and Mexico and all over the United States, teaching classes and retreats. And so her whole work and her whole business was based on in-person traveling events with lots of sweaty people being together, dancing and embodying and becoming alive. And so when the pandemic hit, I just remember the phone call from you. It was like over and over and over every hour. It was like everything in your whole year was getting completely canceled, and you had a year right in front of you. And within a couple of weeks, it was all wiped clean.
yeah.
And so I'm curious, how have you handled that? And for people who are dealing with that kind of stuff in their own life right now, with that level of uncertainty and cancellation, and thinking about going into the next year, like, what have you learned and gleaned from this experience? And how can you give some hope to people who are listening?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. This was supposed to be like the biggest year of my life so far. Like I had the most amazing schedule, and I thought completely diverse schedule. I was going to more countries than I'd ever been and staying for longer periods of time. So not just doing a one-off workshop, but doing trainings and immersions. And it was really, really exciting. And at the same time, I had signed this book deal. So I was like, how am I going to write this book in the midst of all this? But I was like, okay, like the busier we are, the more we can get done kind of, philosophy. I'm going to have to get really good at, maximizing my time on the planes. And there was so much, I was like riding this wave of like excitement going into this new year because I felt like this was going to be my really big stretch and expansive year. And I guess it was, but in a completely different way than I imagined. And I love what you said, Vanessa, about the order and the disorder, because in yoga, there's a very similar concept of spanda, of this expansion and this contraction. And that's how the universe, and that's how our bodies, and that's how our being, goes into this next level of, we could say, of our own evolution. Like we have to have this biggest contraction, almost a contraction that we think is going to kill us, right? That we may not survive. But from that most contracted or disordered place is actually where we can, break out and expand even larger and shine brighter in every capacity. And I've had to like go back to the yogic teachings to remember that, because I was completely disordered. I was completely contracted. I was dealing with levels of anxiety I had never even imagined, because I thought I had built something. I thought I had diversified, and it literally came crashing down before me. And how am I going to support myself? What am I going to do? I mean, all of it. And I know this story is not original. I know many of you listening have a similar version of this. And it took a while. Like I literally had probably the first 2 months of this pandemic period of being in waves of washing in this. And one of my teachers, Brenda Rose, who's also, I know, a teacher of Justin's, she said to me, she was like, stop fighting it. Like, stop fighting it and allow yourself to feel it, because you've never been here before. None of us have ever been here before. Like, you don't know how to respond yet. So just let yourself grieve it, grieve the loss. And there was something about that, like grieving the loss, because whatever comes next is going to be different. It's going to be anew. And that's okay, because now like the slate is being cleared. And again, it beautifully ties back to what Vanessa said, that I can really listen in and honor the whole journey I have done and what I have created, right? And then actually look at it and be like, what about this journey have I just been doing that maybe I was on automatic pilot and I thought I liked, or I thought just because the money was good and I was just doing these things. But instead, it gave me the opportunity to really tune in and be like, what do I really want? And how do I want to sculpt and shape this next phase of my life? Of course, when I started going through this process, late May, June, and continuing over the summer, like I didn't imagine we'd still be where we are now. So there's been, different levels of that order and disorder and expansion and contraction of that spanda happening. But I think that clarity of what I am going to put up with, what is my worth, and what am I going to demand? Where do I want to put my energy and my resources? And how do I want to tap in and align and create this next phase, even though right now it is truly still taking shape? Like I think of everything from this perspective of the map I use is the chakra system. And we have a thought, we have an idea, and it becomes a vision. And as it becomes a vision, we start to paint it in, but we may not have all the details yet, right? It's this broad vision of the direction in which we're going. And then how do we continue to bring that down into an embodied experience step by step and get more refined and more clear and connecting back as it drops into the heart? What, no. What is it you really want? Not what the mind thinks you want, but what is it that you really want? And for me, just continuing to come back to my body, come back to my practice, to come back to what is tactile, to come back to what is secure, to come back into what I can rely on. And for me, it's my breath, it's my movement, it's shaking my body. It's that constantly coming back to what I can root into and what I know is real. and then use that to set a new foundation to allow this new flood of what I really desire to have even the opportunity to take root and come into more of a manifest form. I know that was a lot.
Beautiful. No, it was a lot, but it took us on a whole journey. It took me on a whole journey. You know what I mean? And I think one of the things that I am like wanting to pin and prod into a little bit more, and I'm going to like ping pong this over to Vanessa, was something that you said, Cristi, about grieving the loss of what was, right? Or the story of what we thought was. And I think as so many of us are creating new visions for our lives and wanting to step into the newness of what we are, there is this element of what has to be let go of in some way, and how to really process that. And I think COVID has shown us that the letting go sometimes isn't up to you, you know, but we still have to let go of it. So Vanessa, I'm just curious, like how all of that bounces off of you from your perspective in the world.
Yeah, I think that grief is a super important state of moving through and not cheating grief. We never want to cheat the normal grief of letting go, because it's little deaths, big deaths. Life is always about, you know, letting go and resilience and rejuvenation, and sometimes that's on a very super you know, personal level, and sometimes that's on a global level. And you just reminded me like of, you know, when I'm have always been a complete social media phobe and technology phobe. I couldn't even quite get on yet today. It took me 10 minutes, right? And so when in the early part of the year, I had a plan. I had a house that was being built in Baja, a little tiny house near the ocean, and it was a dream come true. And when I had gone there in December, there was this incredible, right in front of the construction site, this sunflower, just one single sunflower. And that meant that my mom was near. And whenever I see sunflowers, it means love. My mom had just passed away 6 weeks before. And it was right in front, and there was only one, and there was no sunflowers for acres and acres and acres. And so some bird must have come along and just pooped right there, right in front of the house. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to, it was going to be done 1st of April. I'm going to move in 1st of April and be there and write my book. And oh, how wonderful. And I can't wait. Can't wait. All of a sudden, what happened was COVID happened, and then everything shut down. Construction shut down for 2.5 months. And so I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? It was like grieving, letting go of, wait, the sunflower is there, and wait. And so so what happened was in mid-April, I just started, because I think that manifesting has a huge amount to do with prayer. And I think even the word manifest means to make obvious. So we want to materialize the spiritual, what's coming from our heart, what's coming from our soul. We want to materialize it onto this realm and make it obvious and no longer a secret. And so I just prayed deeply to the universe for hours. And I said, okay, you know, I want to be of service during this time of COVID, during this time. I want to be of service, and I want to do it for free. And I want to do it on the biggest platform that you want to give me. And I did that for several hours. And I stopped, and about 3 hours later, I opened up my email, and the first email was from Pink, from Alicia Moore. And she said, I have this harebrained idea. Why don't you come on my Instagram live and we'll just chat for an hour, and I'll reveal that you're my secret weapon, and with my marriage and myself and everything. And I immediately knew that was the answer to that deep, profound prayer. And so I said yes. And then I went, oh no, because I'm terrified to have the secret of me.
And for context for people, that I want to say is like, you for 30 years have been doing these things with like top tier A-list world stage people with no website, never publicly. It's always been super private, like just you and them in their house.
Yes.
And now here's this moment, and Pink's like, do you want to come on Instagram live? And I remember when you called me, you're like, I don't have Instagram. Like, what do I do? So that
Yeah.
birthing, anyway, continue, but I just
And
wanted to
so
give
it
people
was
that
exactly that,
context.
Justin. And thank you for that context. It was a birthing. So it was a loss of like, wait, I thought this, I was going to do this. And then it was truly a birthing, but it was a birthing into something that I really wanted. I wanted to take, I secretly wanted to come out to the world because my work for almost 40 years has been very private. And I wanted to come out and talk about it, but I was terrified also, just terrified down to the nervous bone, right? And so the prayers went, okay, we know you're terrified, but we're going to take you where we need you most right now.
This is, there's a thread that I'm almost just wanting the both of you to talk about a little bit here, that I'm seeing between what you're both saying. And it's this thread of letting go of what you expected and being present for what is showing up for you. And the more that we're able to lean in and be present with what's actually showing up in our lives, the more that we're able to actually do with it, whatever it is in that moment. And the other part of that thread that like feels connected into pool is something that people will be familiar with, that we've worked on in the Manifest New Year's Eve and in the workbook. And if you're somebody who's watching this and you haven't been on the New Year's program and you're watching this later, you don't have the workbook, you can just go to justinmichaelwilliams.com and get it. It's totally free for everyone to help you set your mission and goals for the year. And the other piece of that thread is that it's not just about what you're doing, but about who you want to be to the world and to yourself.
Yes.
That seems like a thread that you're both speaking of. So I would love to just like let me step back and like give it to the ladies for a moment and like let you all just unravel that a little bit together. Whoever wants to take the lead.
Well, I'll just start in the sense of talking to the first point of this, letting go and, stepping into what the universe is offering, even if you're terrified, even if that's not what you think you want. And I think that was another big lesson for me. It was, what I thought I wanted was to be traveling the world and teaching all these workshops and retreats and blah, 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 blah. And what really happened was I actually had space to write my book. And I also was terrified to do that, to actually step into that space and get outside of my comfort zone. So that was actually the way I'm looking at it now. Inside the contraction, there was an expansion trying to happen simultaneously, right? The world was contracting in one way, and then this expansion, this new side of me was trying to be birthed out to step into the space of being an author and to take all these things I talk and teach about and actually put them down in a tangible form. And I also could see how much I was actually rejecting stepping into that at the same time, because I was grasping so hard onto what was already lost. So I think that notion of being present, seeing what's showing up and not rejecting what's showing up because it doesn't look like what we thought it should. And that's a continual lesson now as as we're all crossing this threshold into a new year and trying to cultivate this new vision of being. So I'll toss it back to you, Ms. Vanessa.
Yeah, I think that it's really beautiful. Yes, Cristi, I started doing yoga when I was 18 and meditating, and it's been a beautiful journey of, really understanding the flow, right? Like the flow. And now, in this chaos and this reordering, it's like to be in the flow and know that it's okay that everybody's experiencing this, together at the same time. So we're almost like folded into that flow, and the idea of deep prayer is so that you're coming from your deepest place, is to be folded then into the global rebirth, right, of a wiser humanity.
And Vanessa, I want to, before we get too far from that, and I'm so glad you said it again, because I had it hit me. It was another hit into the heart with the truth and the awe of manifesting involves an amount of prayer.
Yes.
Right. And I'm just wanting you to unravel that for us a little bit more of what that might mean for people? Because I think a lot of people are very familiar with prayer,
Mhm.
right? But like, what does it mean to really pray as we're talking about it in the context of manifestation?
Yeah, I can mostly relate it to my own personal experience. I mean, as you know, I had a near-death experience when I was 4 years old, a near-death drowning, and I had a very profound mystical experience of everything being one, and that we're all like just moving bits of energy, the light, the water, the sunlight coming down, and I just felt like, it was just one big ocean, and that we were all a sense of one, and that it was all about love. And this was not a cognitive thing at all. This was a deeply, as you're saying, Christy, embodied, almost like a download. And so I can only speak from that place that when I pray, I first try to just say, I don't know. There's a whole bunch that I don't know, right? Of like what the universe really wants to use me for, to be of service. I know that I can show up. I know I can work hard. I know that, where some of my superpowers lie. And so it's the closing of the gap of those things, and then being very, very present in that, and very having a sense of faith that there is this, everything is just moving bits of energy, all of us and everything and way beyond us. And we're not doing it alone. And so that is what I do when I pray. I just want to be of service, and in the best way that I'm made for.
Yeah,
And
this is beautiful. Go ahead, Christy. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, I love that so much. And Justin and I also share another dear friend and teacher, Sienna Sherman, who I think you're interviewing as well. And one of her main teaching is how can I be a vessel of love? How can I be a vessel of service? And I remember the first time, I heard her say that like 10 years ago, and it's something that has really stuck and has become one of my like part of one of my daily practices of when I wake up in the morning, and especially in this time of chaos, of like, okay, like how can I show up to be of service to the highest good, harm to none. And again, because it's just so easy for me to tie it back from this chakra perspective of like, prayer is what aligns us with our crown chakra. Our crown chakra. Prayer is what brings us in alignment to that deepest place within us, where I think that our personal will and our divine will are lining up. And that if we can get quiet enough to hear what those whispers are, what those messages are, and then bring them down into our hearts. We take this prayer, we take this deep wisdom, and then we activate it in our hearts with that the answer of that deepest heart soul's calling. And then we have the opportunity to take it into action, right? And do something, and it not just stay in the realms of the magical and the mystical, because I think some people think of manifestation of just like, not what you said about bringing that secret forth to life, or bringing something into the tangible, into the embodied, but it's something that just stays in the ethereal. So I really
Mm,
like this.
yeah, and this bringing it into the tangible form part is really important, Christy, and I think one of the things that feels so beautiful, because I know both of you, all of us, really, I could say, have deep prayer practices, in our own very special and unique ways. And that the real alignment is like aligning yourself with that source, and like just following that and letting that take the lead, in every way, and then showing up as the manifestation of that in the world.
Mhm.
And I think one of the things that you both had mentioned that I want to key in on with people, because they see people like you, world traveling teachers, author, speaker, working with celebrities, like being a guide for 40 years. And a lot of people can see that. And I want to make sure that everybody notices something that you both said. It was, I was getting the pandemic hit, I had everything planned. And then I had to do something that I was so afraid of. I was so afraid to do. Vanessa, the fear of stepping in to the public light and like letting your face and your voice and your stories and the whole thing be seen, and having your very, very, very first Instagram live ever be seen by multiple millions of people, and then Good Morning America calling the next day. And then, Christy, going from your comfort zone, which is literally the opposite space of like being so out there, and then having to completely come in and like give it to the page in the most individual, personal way. And the reason why I'm pulling that thread now is I'm like weaving this tapestry that you amazing magical women are setting for us as we're laying kind of like this blanket out to feast on of 2021, is that we're going to come across things that we're afraid of, right? And sometimes these shakeups end up pulling us out of our comfort zones in these amazing ways. And then we have a choice right there, which is, do we go to our prayer and do we know that there's more here to support us and step into that fear and the manifestation that's coming from it, lean into it, or do we choose to fight it? You know, and that brings us back to the beginning of like not fighting what's arising, but leaning into what's in front of you. And so, you know, as we kind of close out this interview, and I really feel like I can just go on with you two for a very long time, but for the sake of time, I want to end with this question. When people are dealing with fear, they're stepping into their dream, they're being encouraged through the Manifest workbook and all the work they're doing in their lives, and the podcast they're listening to and the reading they're doing, to dream bigger, to go for it this time, because why the fuck not? You know, when they're being asked to do that, when everything's been stripped away, and they're going for their heart's calling and manifesting it into their physical plane. And then there's the fear. Then what? Mm-hmm. Cristi, I'll take you first, and then Vanessa, I would love for you to close us out.
I think one of the key remembrances is that fear isn't a bad thing. Fear is a tremendously powerful energy that actually can propel us forward if we can learn to work with it. And by work with it, we can look at it in a few different ways. Two of them is if we actually turn in the direction of the fear versus trying to push it away and actually see what's arising, it might actually be a great message that this fear is coming up to, wait, have you looked at this? Have you considered this? Right? Like there is great messages in fear at times, right? There's two kinds of fear: the fear that keeps us alive, right? And then the fear that stops us in our tracks. So we want to turn towards the fear, see what message is there for us, if there is one, and almost in a sense, like expect it. Anytime we get out of our comfort zone, right? Anytime we're trying to stretch and expand and enter into the realm of newness and beginnings and where we've never been before, like, of course you're going to have fear, right? Like, of course you're going to have fear. So almost just expecting it. And how do you turn to it and then still move forward anyway? Like, let it have its seat, let it be in the passenger seat or the back seat of the car. Know that it's there, but you are so committed to that deep, like that question. Remember, you know, Vanessa's voice of like, what do you truly want to be? What is that soul's calling? Let that be the fuel to help you to move forward anyway. And the last thing I want to say before I turn it over is that we can also think of fear and excitement of two sides of the same coin. All right, that same energy of what happens when you get excited. Like when you get excited, you also get that tingle in your belly. You also might even feel like heightened anxiety because it's heightened energy. It's that electricity that's coming through us. So how can we breathe into the fear, use that tremendous power and flip it towards that excitement and allow it actually to be fuel for us to move forward anyway.
Beautiful, beautiful. Vanessa,
yeah,
round us out, darling.
Yeah, hi, baby. It's interesting, both in my personal life, and I call myself a fearless scaredy cat because I'm just scared of like new different things out of my comfort zone, and I think most everybody is, and yet I'm fearless. I'm going to do it anyway with lots of love and empathy. And I've never seen anyone that I've ever worked with, and most everybody I work with is on a world stage, that they all have fear. Every single person. And to me, there's like three ingredients almost, if you think of it, towards manifesting or creating that which your soul really wants you to share in your life or with the world, whether it's one person, 100 people, 1 million people. And those three ingredients are, first of all, you have to be fearless about facing fear, which we see as a negative emotion. But if we go back to that idea of everything is just moving bits of energy, like I had in my near-death drowning, and it's just energy. And so that's the first thing, is that the people that I've worked with are really willing to sit down at the blank page, even if they've had tons of Grammy Awards or Academy Awards or Emmys. They have to, if they're going to really create again, they have to face that blank page. And it's always scary. Will it be as good? Will I be enough? There's always that fear, right? So the willingness to face that fear, to be a fearless scaredy cat, right? And then the second ingredient is to just have a sense of awe, a sense of, however you determine that we're on this planet spinning around in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy and amongst billions of galaxies, or a sense of awe, if you're what you think of as source or God, but just something bigger than your own little ego. And then the third thing is to be of service. Anybody that I've ever worked with wants to be of service, wants to make an impact. Again, whether it's one person, 100 people, or millions of people. And so that's always what I follow too. Yeah. And it's getting into that alignment. And, because alignment, both psychologically, spiritually, and that's what the disorder does, is it's throwing off things that are not in alignment. And then we get back into alignment and get back into flow.
I love that.
This is so beautiful. Yeah, the awe ingredient is magical. Vanessa, I just am feeling into my heart, and I want to request if you will close us out with a prayer.
Yes. May you remember that you're enough. May you remember that at your essence that you were born with and that you'll have when you're 100 years old, that you are enough, that you are beautiful, that it's important that you are here, and that you have a part of this tapestry that is yours to bring forth into beautiful alignment. And that may you be full of accepting grace in your life from the people in your life. May you feel grace from the universe. May you know that you're okay. And may you know that you're made of love.
May you know that you're made of love. My sisters, thank you so much for being with us, with all of us here today. It's an honor and a privilege that I don't take for granted. And to all of you listening, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and your schedule to allow our voices into your ears. This, again, is an honor and a privilege we don't take for granted. And my biggest wish right now is just that whatever's happening in your life right now, that as you end this video, you're ending it with a smile, like we are, and that it's bringing a little bit more hope and joy and positivity into your life. This is Justin Michael Williams signing out, and I'll meet you right here in this special place the next time we're together. Bye for now.